already 3 of you guys. I just want to give us all about maybe about 5 or 6 minutes or so to kind of give everybody else time to log on. Let's see, I can sort of read some of these messages. Let's see. Hello. Hi, Pam. Hi, how are you? What is that? Acor family? Hi, how are you? Glad you're here too. Oh, you loved the pinball cookies. Thank you. Yeah, those pinball cookies were kind of fun, weren't they? I love interactive food. Who doesn't? It's fun to play with. It is chilly. I'm in Florida and it's a little cold right now, so I have my warm cup of coffee, keeping my hands kind of loose before we start decorating here. Let's see. What do we have? We have some people. Robin, hello. How are you? Thank you for joining us. All right, we've got some people really coming in now, and we got some messages. Carol, oh, you look beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, guys. You guys are so sweet. We're going to give some time for some people to join us as I sip my warm cappuccino here. Do we have any other coffee lovers out there? I am a huge coffee fan. I love coffee with flavored creamer. I love it, love it, love it. Oh, yeah, a few of you. Hi, J and C. Hello. Hi back. Oh, yeah, we got some people joining us now, I can see. So it'll be interesting today. I had so many of you, you're neck and neck at how many of you really wanted to see rolled buttercream, and then how many of you really wanted to see royal icing. So why not do them both? We're not going to actually show, I'm not going to show you making the batches. I think I have plenty of videos that actually show you making the recipe. What I'm going to show and go over are just how to work with them a little bit. I'll show you some royal icing consistencies. And I'm also going to talk about, how to play around with rolled buttercream. So we've got a few other things that we can kind of talk about in between. And certainly I'll be taking any of your questions. Let's see here. We have, hello, mushroom coffee for the brain. Ooh, mushroom coffee. I've seen some things about that, but I haven't really looked into it. If you swear by mushroom coffee, send me a link. You'll never know. I like mushrooms. All right, let's see how many people are joining us. We've got just about a minute or so, and then we'll go ahead and start. We've got some chats going on here, just a little bit. Everybody's saying hi. So please, if you've got a question, we'll try to get to all of them. I believe in my last live, there was a little bit of a technical issue with the questions jammed up, and then I wasn't getting them rolling in until after the live was done. So to see if we can prevent that kind of mishap from happening, not only do I have my phone, which I can read from here, but I also have my laptop over here and I have the messages pulled up. So if for some reason it looks like they're not moving on here, we'll switch over to there. So hopefully I won't miss any this time. All right, I hope you guys have your questions ready, and we're gonna probably get started in about a second now. Let me take my last sip of coffee and put it off to the side. All right, are we ready to start, guys? Okay. So, first and foremost, let's see. Somebody says Carolyn says I am doing my nails right now, but then later today I'll be baking lemon raspberry bundt cake with fresh raspberries. Ooh, that sounds divine. Love it. So let's go ahead and start. It's a little bit after 1 o'clock, or right at 1. Yeah, right at 1 o'clock. So let's go ahead and start. In the news right now, current event, the egg prices. Hello, has anybody tried to buy eggs this week? I need chickens. Egg prices have gone crazy. Apparently, the avian flu has been still making its rounds since, like, guess 2020, 2019, somewhere around there. It started making some waves through the country, and it hits different, unfortunately, different areas at different times. And I can definitely see our area being hit right now. Oh my God, the egg prices are crazy. Oh, yeah, absolutely. They're nuts, aren't they? They're crazy. So I just want to say, I don't know if she is on here as of yet, but thank you guys for joining me on the Cookie Tribe. That group has been, that Facebook group has been wonderful. You guys are amazing. And I think we have somewhere between 6,000 and 7,000 members already. And it's only a few months in, so keep it growing, share it with your friends and family. I unfortunately have gotten too big. I can't share my own stuff anymore on those other pages, but you guys are, of course, welcome to share my information and pass that on. Any of that helpful stuff that you guys find. I have been, unfortunately, banned from being able to promote myself, which is understandable. So don't get mad at them for kicking me off. I'm just to that point where I have to promote myself outside of other people's groups. So, which is fine. That's okay. Growth is good. So with that being said, on there, of course, growing as it is, you may have noticed that I have a helper on the Cookie Tribe Facebook group, and her name is Chauncey Spencer, and she is wonderful. She has been an absolute godsend. She helps me approve your posts. She helps keep the flow going, helps me answer questions. She is definitely my right-hand man on that page, so definite shout out to Chauncey. Thank you so much, honey. You do an amazing job on there, and we love you dearly. Let's see. Let's talk about on that group. We have a couple of group experts. I want to give you guys a shout out. So Carla Franco, hello, squishies. Are those cute or what? Carla Franco, if you guys have not seen her on here, you've got to find her. She does pipeable marshmallow squishy cookies that are to die for, and her skill is off the chart. So anytime she gives you some advice, definitely pay attention. We also have Marcia Steckel, that is a phenomenal addition to our group. She is also known as the Brawless Baker. She started her own YouTube channel, so go ahead and subscribe to hers. She has wonderful little tips too. But she is a wonderful asset. She's always answering questions. She's always available to give advice. So the thing with Marcia is, Marcia, you do a volume much larger than what I do on a normal basis. So, I mean, she definitely is my go-to for some of those answers on the fly about quantities and about getting the most out of your work week. She's really good for some of those, for sure. So I see a lot of people are joining us. I just want to continue to say hi to everybody. We are going to start in just a second, but I have a few shout outs that I wanted to say before we begin our rolled buttercream and our royal icing demos. So another couple of shout outs that I have just for participation. So you guys have been wonderful, but a special thanks to Carolyn Sue Netcrut. I'm sorry, I'm trying not to botch your name. Oh, Nethercut. Sorry, Carolyn Sue. I botch names really badly, but I just wanted to say to you and to Sweet RX, thank you guys for your posts. Your posts have been so helpful, and you're always encouraging others. So thank you. Keep up the good teamwork. I love it. You guys are fantastic. All right, so now I think we have enough of us joined on that we can go ahead and get started. Now we're gonna start with rolled buttercream. Now I know for a lot of you this is kind of new, but rolled buttercream isn't new. And I know you guys have dubbed me the queen of rolled buttercream, but I'm really truly not. I just love this stuff the same way you guys do. What I did was I took a recipe from the 80s. I mean, this stuff has been around a long time, but it was pretty haphazard and really messy to make and messy to work with. It wasn't consistent. So a lot of people didn't work with it. It kind of got crumbly if you didn't work with it right. And so I liked the idea of having an alternative to, let's say, to like a fondant. And I know there are homemade marshmallow fondants out there that are fantastic. Yes, I know that. But I still wasn't a fan. I'm a buttercream girl. I love the taste of buttercream. I have a cake background, so I work with buttercream a lot. It was only natural for me to try to figure out a workable buttercream version, especially when you start looking at some of those old recipes for rolled buttercream. So I knew when I was looking at them that I could probably figure out a way to innovate them and change up the recipe with products that we use now in today's world and make it more user-friendly. So I am not gonna show you guys how to actually make the rolled buttercream because I think I have plenty of videos on my YouTube channel for you guys to go back and really look in depth at exactly how I make the rolled buttercream. But what I am gonna do is work with it a little bit for you guys, okay? So let's see if we'll just take a quick second and let me glance through some of these little bits here, some of these little comments, and see if the what is Marcia's last name? Steckel, Steckel, and she's also, so Marcia Steckel, and her YouTube channel is The Brawless Baker. How awesome is that? So she's very wonderful. Look her up. There's also Sweet RX is wonderful. She's a lot of help. She does wonderful little videos and posts them on our group. Let's see here. Oh, I love you guys too. You guys are amazing. Thank you. I'm glad you guys like my work. That's wonderful. Thank you so much. You know, I'm still learning just like you guys. I come from a world of buttercream cakes. So I learned back in 1999, I took a Wilton's cake decorating class way back in the day, and I loved it. Fell madly in love with it and immediately started making cakes for friends and family. I was working at a gallery at the time, so I was able to show off my designs to anybody that I wanted to, and it was a lot of fun. And I've been doing cake ever since. I just got into cookies probably about 3 or 4 years ago. Just because my customers really started asking for them, and I said, you know, it never occurred to me to say no. So of course I would say yes and then have to figure out what I'm doing. So thus a lot of my recipes came from that, and a lot of my tutorials, because I had to figure out what I was doing. And for me, if I figure it out, I'm sure there's somebody else out there who probably could use a little bit of a different explanation. Sometimes I have a little bit more of an in-depth look at why we do the things we do. So thank you for loving my videos. Thank you for liking my material. Thank you for loving my designs. Keep your questions coming. Keep your, you know, all of these little questions that you guys throw at me is just another opportunity for us to dive in and figure something else out. So, that's why I encourage you guys to experiment with these recipes. I give you all of these base recipes. Now, once I do that, it's up to you guys to run with them. I want you guys to get as creative as possible and then come back and share with the rest of us, just like I shared with you guys. You know, keep it going. All right, so enough gabbing here. Let's go ahead and start with our rolled buttercream. Now, I made this in advance. I just made it this morning. Now, with buttercream, with the rolled buttercream, you do not have to let it rest. You can, but to be honest, you can work with it right away. You can also knead this icing over and over and over and over and over and over and over again endlessly. It is not going to get any tighter or stiffer, or it's not going to mess it up at all. As a matter of fact, know that you can actually, this stuff is so forgiving, you can freeze it, thaw it, freeze it again, and thaw it again, and even freeze it again, and it's still fine. I think I tested it maybe on the fifth or sixth time of bringing it in and out, and it was still perfectly fine as if the first day I put it in there in the freezer. So with rolled buttercream, you can keep this in the refrigerator. Well, let's start at room temperature. So if you're going to work with this on your cookies, give yourself, when you make it, here's my fresh rolled buttercream I made today. So I'm going to give myself about 3 days at room temperature to work with this. That's my wiggle room for kind of giving myself time to decorate my cookies. Then at that point, I want to let it dry for a couple of days. So technically it's been out for 5 days. So that would make it 5 days old. Now at that 5th day, 5 to 7 days, as you're letting these kind of air dry, I would say go ahead and package and make sure that you either get them to the recipient, because then you've got about 14 days. So somewhere about, I would say about 12 to 14 days before they start tasting a little like, older. I don't want to say bad, because trust me, I have eaten way older cookies than that, and they were just fine. But do you want your customers to eat them beyond that? Probably not. So at that point, you want to either make sure at that 5-day mark, after making this, within that week, you want to make sure you're getting those cookies off to whoever's going to receive them, or you're going to package them and you can then freeze them. Now, you can freeze them up to 3 to 6 months, of course, depending on the quality of your freezer. That's something that only you can tell, because, of course, every freezer is made differently. But definitely those Sub-Zeros and those chest freezers, you can tend to get a good 6 to 9 months out of some of your frozen goods. But that really is going to be up to your equipment. But know that that's potential. So we are now going to roll out some of this buttercream, and I like to roll between 2 pieces of parchment paper. I have found that that's the only way that I can roll it out successfully and move it around without really kind of banging it up and manipulating it and getting it all warped. But let's go ahead and color it. Now, a lot of you, I don't know why this trips you guys up so much, but a lot of you are scared to color it. You're afraid to knead it. This is not the same. Now, I've got my gel color here. I like Chef Master. I just grabbed a pink and I put a little tiny bit of dots on top of there. Now, I think you guys are worried because we talk about not kneading your cookie dough too much because it will tighten up and develop too much gluten and make a tough cookie. Well, with icing, with this, you don't have to worry about that. It's not going to do that. So you can sit here and just knead and massage and smear and rub it around. You can be as ugly as you want to be with it. It's not going to bother it at all. And as a matter of fact, if you don't want to mix it all the way, you get this lovely swirl. Look how pretty that is. Isn't that beautiful? I love that. I almost like it when it's not fully mixed in. I mean, it's just so pretty, right? But we can go ahead and keep kneading. And yes, it does take a bit of kneading, but it's not hard. It really isn't. I mean, this stuff is so soft. It's like soft Play-Doh. It's not sticky. It's not sticking to my hands, except for the color I got in between my fingers. But seriously, it's very easy to use. I mean, it's just like soft Play-Doh. Great stuff. It's not melting in my hands. It's not getting too soft. But no, if you've got hot hands, this is made with butter. Butter and hot hands usually make soup, right? So just know if your hands are on the hotter side, you might want to have like one of those little chill packs, those little reusable freezer packs sitting off to the side with maybe a towel or something, and you can put your hands on it and cool your hands off as you're working with it. Or cool, have this sitting on a towel or a paper towel and cool this down a little bit. That will help you if it starts getting a little mushy or soft. Definitely, that's one thing we can talk about. If you are working with your rolled buttercream and it's too soft, do one thing first before trying to add anything to it. So try to cool it down. Either check to see if your room's too hot, or maybe your surface, or of course hot hands. But just double check and make sure that your environment isn't making it kind of limp and soft. You want to make sure that you try to cool it down if you can. Now, if that's not the reason that it's soft and it's sticky, if it's sticky, then that means that there wasn't enough powdered sugar mixed into it. So then you can just sprinkle some powdered sugar on it and knead that until it's not sticky anymore. Super easy fix, right? Super easy. So what we're gonna do here, I have an extra, first we've got this colored, let's set that down, sorry. Let's pat that down. Now, when we're working and covering a cookie with rolled buttercream, you're gonna take the cookie cutter the same size as your cookie. This is just a leftover Christmas tree I had in the freezer. So we're gonna use him because he has some nice shape to him. But you wanna use a no spread recipe because, of course, the more spread you get, the more your shape will go onto the outside of your rolled buttercream. But you want that same cutter. So we're going to place our rolled buttercream on parchment right here. Now, a lot of you get ripples when you're trying to roll things out using parchment paper. And do you know why that is? It's because you're trying to roll out a big mound instead of flattening it out first. So anytime you're rolling things out in parchment, go ahead and try to kind of flatten them out with your fingers first, your hands, then finish the rest of the way using that rolling pin. Now I have this one here is just 1/8 of an inch. This is one of those Jeffrey rolling pins that they have the little guides on there. And my cookies are 5/8 of an inch. And then this is 1/4 inch. So that just happens to be the sort of combination that I really like. But hey, knock your socks off. You can make your buttercream as thick as you want to. So now I'm just gonna roll this out. And if you saw, I just kind of turned the direction a little bit, just to make sure I'm rolling it out nice and evenly. Putting our rolling pin off to the side. We're gonna peel off that top piece. Now now we can either leave this with that nice flat, beautiful smooth finish you can see there. We can leave it just like that, or we can use we can add texture. So I have a rolling pin here. Now these you can get either made for fondant or look in the clay aisle. A lot of clay and epoxy aisles have some of these really cool looking little rolling pins or molds. Look in those aisles too because they're really neat. I found some really neat stuff in there. So now we can either take this and roll this over here, or these are impression mats. And if you can see the designs and the textures on there, this one's my favorite. This one's like a tree bark. That one's pretty cool. And they're made out of silicone. Let's see here. Oh, there's that. My thickness, so my thickness is 5/16 on my cookie. And then I did the 1/4 inch or the 1/8 of an inch on the rolled buttercream. So this is just a Christmas tree. So I think I'm going to use this texture here. Now what we do is we just lightly lay it down. We're going to take that same rolling pin. We're just going to give it a light, barely any pressure, mostly just the weight of the rolling pin. And we're just going to roll right over top, not really trying to press out that buttercream any thinner. And ta-da! Beautiful. Can you see that? Very nice. So now you get to take your cookie cutter and figure out, kind of play around and see where you would like to crop your icing. So that looks lovely. You're going to cut that out. And now we remove the extra pieces from around the outside of our cut and set them off to the side to be rolled again. Now we have our tree. Now this is the whole piece of icing. Now what I like to do is I will then take this and put it in the freezer. And I will freeze it for just a couple of minutes so that it will firm up a little bit, and then it's easier to handle that way. It peels off much easier. But to save time and to keep me from walking back and forth, I'm just gonna kind of flub it. But know that I normally will cut out a few of them, take away that excess, and then I'll take that whole sheet and I will put it on a tray inside my freezer or refrigerator, just for a few minutes, just to harden up that butter inside there. And it just gives them a little bit more user-friendly structure to work with and to place onto your cookies. But now, how do we get this on here, onto our cookie? Now to do that, we have glue. And my glue is corn syrup with a couple of little spritzes of water in here. And then I have taken my food safe brush here, paintbrush, and just mixed it around a little bit and loosened that corn syrup up. Just loosen it up a little bit. And now we paint onto the cookie. We're gonna paint just a thin little layer of that corn syrup right on that cookie. And don't worry, it doesn't make it soggy. It actually keeps the cookie nice and moist. It's really nice. Locks in all that moisture. But we don't want to go all the way over the sides because you don't want sticky edges. Just all the way right up, sort of to the edge. Right there. Now, we're gonna remove and peel this off this parchment. Now, this is easier to do and to work with when they're cold. But now I'm just gonna lay this over top. Laid it right down on there. And now we're gonna go around our edges, and now you can kind of manipulate it a little bit and get it to go around the shape. And make sure that it is sitting flat up against your cookie. There we go. And like so. But you can see each and every little point, every little bit of that is covered. And then, oops, sorry. Ta-da! We just covered a cookie. Super easy. Isn't that easy, guys? That is so easy. So easy. I love it. Now, of course, at this point, you can either just let this crust and dry, but it takes about 12 to 24 hours for it to crust Definitely 24 hours to 48 hours to be able to package these. But yes, you can package them. You'll be able to package them just fine. So you can add, you can definitely add to this all kinds of elements. You can add royal icing on top of this. I let it crust first. So if you're adding something other than just buttercream to buttercream, let it crust first. For instance, if you're going to add any kind of royal icing to the top, if you're going to airbrush, if you're going to hand paint, maybe you have some gold accents you'd like to add or some splatter, just wait. It accepts it much better if you wait for it to crust a little bit. Now, if we're using buttercream to pipe on decorations on top, you can do so right away, no problem. You can absolutely do that. But you can even stencil on top of this if you let it crust about 24 hours first. Good stuff. Very versatile. Isn't this great? So easy. Yes, you can. Let's see. Can you dehydrate them to package faster? No. So remember what we said about warmth and butter. They make soup. Unfortunately, it didn't really dry them. What it actually did when I put them in the dehydrator several times, I tried this experiment many times, but what it does is it brings the oils to the surface of the cookie instead of drying it, which was kind of gross. So no go on the dehydrator for rolled buttercream. I would stay away from it. Just let it air dry. But with that being said, it also didn't melt it completely. It made it kind of slick and glossy on the top, but it didn't melt it. It's low moisture enough that it doesn't like completely give out and melt in the sun. Kind of neat. Let's see, it stays nice and soft. So it will actually, as a matter of fact, let's move on to molding it. So I just showed you how you can apply it to a cookie in one foul swoop, right? That was just to cover it up, just like so. Now, if you wanted, we also have, you can make little things, you can mold it. So I have little roses here, and I have little bows. And yes, they do, let me see if I can do this demo here. They dry hard. Now it sounds like you would break a tooth, right? Mm-mm. It's hard enough that it's not gonna break, but watch. When you break it open, it's like a soft Necco wafer. Nothing hard about it whatsoever. Very soft. See, soft. Kind of chewy, actually. Soft and chewy. So, but yet, I can't smush it with my fingers. I'm not gonna destroy the design once dry. So this stuff is wonderful. I mean, you can really get some neat decorations out of it. So like for instance, here I have little ears, little unicorn ears and horn that I made out of it as an example for you guys for cupcakes. But isn't that amazing? And it keeps just fine. Now, to mold the buttercream, what I like to do is I take a silicone mold, and these flexible molds seem to work a little bit easier at popping them out, because you can almost kind of get your hand behind them and pop them right out of those little spots. Here I have a white rose one here. Now, the deeper and the more fine detail, it's hit or miss. You do much better with this stuff if it's a little bit of a bolder or bigger kind of design. But just play around with them, see which ones work. So in order to get the best out of your molds, I recommend using, and some of you guys know the Dusty Slug. So here is one of my own personal Dusty Slug box. And here I've got my slug. Now this is a cornstarch pouncer. That's all it is. I will put the link down below. I show you guys how to make these. And if you're lazy and you don't want to make one for yourself, there's also a link for my shop on Etsy where you can buy one from me. And you'll get a cute little case and a cute little brush that goes with it for fun if you don't want to make one for yourself. But I take my little pouncer and I dust my mold just like so. Turn it upside down and tap it out. Or use my little brush and get that excess off. But I like to just slam it down, boom, like so. And it gets any of that extra out. Then you pinch off a piece of your rolled buttercream. Give it a nice, good knead there. And then you're gonna pinch and push right into those little tiny cavities. You know, push it in there, push it in there. Really make sure that it's filling that whole thing up, and then you're just gonna pinch off any excess. Just like so. You can sit there and play around with it. These are so much fun to make. I usually make several trays. I have a few molds, so if I'm in the molding mood, I will sit there and I will just put all these little guys together and play with each little one. Now, to pop this out of the mold, so much easier if you put it in the freezer for just a few minutes, like 2 minutes. Then you'll be able to come back out here and just pop it right out. It comes out really cleanly. But to save time, I'm gonna pop this one out myself. Fingers crossed I don't mutilate it. Only a little. All right, so now you guys can see. There's my little bow. But trust me, they come out much easier when they're cold. Ta-da! So easy, guys, so easy. Now, here's something I wanted to show you guys that you might find interesting. So, with rolled buttercream, let's say, all right, I told you these are some extra Christmas cookies, right? So let's say, here's a snowman. Now, let's say you want the snowman's hat to be a different color, but you're using rolled buttercream. How do we do that? Very easily. So, in order to do that, we will take that cookie cutter, and first you'll want to make his body. So we're going to make his body pink, since I already have pink. And why not? Pink snowman, why not? Now remember, when you go to roll in between parchment, you're going to flatten it out first so you don't get those ripples. Gonna lay that over top. We're gonna give it a little bit of a roll here. But I'm gonna show you how to do that two-toned, how to combine more than one color of rolled buttercream on a cookie. All right, so we've got that base. And you're gonna cut out your entire shape, just like this. Removing the excess from around your cookie, like so. Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut off this spot right here, right along here. We're gonna cut it and remove the pink hat because we're gonna put a black hat on top. So, right where you see that line, take either your cookie cutter or take a knife and just cut right there. You guys can see. And then remove the hat. All right. So now let's get this started on our snowman. So take your brush and you're gonna, just like before, we're gonna put that corn syrup. You can even do where the hat is, but we're about to make the hat part. But you can go ahead and put the corn syrup on anyway. It will sit there safe and sound waiting for us. So right almost to the edges, but remember, you don't want sticky sides. So just right to that edge. And now, remember, if you chill this, it's easier to remove it. So pretend we chilled this. We popped it off here, and we're gonna place it on our snowman. And move him around like he should be. Now remember, you can see my fingerprints on some of this just because, unfortunately, this is soft. I didn't have time to put it in the freezer for you guys, but so never mind the indents from my fingers. You'll get less of those if you put it in the freezer first. But go around, seal your edges. So now let's do his cute little hat. So let's get this up here. Get him smoothed out. And now take your other color, which we have here. We have a little bit of black. I'm gonna give it a little bit of a knead. But look at that, it takes color really well. I mean, that is black. I used Chef Master's Diamond Black. Is the best black ever. It's such a good black. All right, so again, we press it out a little flat. Make it flat. I'm gonna put your other piece of parchment on. I'm gonna give it a roll. I turn it just so that I get it nice and even. Take that top piece of parchment off. Now remember, we don't need all of this cookie. So we're just gonna take, oops, and I just hit my snowman. I told you, forgive me. I'm giving him all kinds of bruises over here. But remember, we don't need all of this, just that hat part. So you can take and just cut out a little bit. So there we go, cut that. Little bit of section. Now we have this, and we're gonna trim this to fit on top of that snowman. And piece it together. Sorry, just manipulating him here. Dead air. Sorry. Okay, so we get him manipulated on there. I told you, this is so much better. It's much easier when it's cold. But ta-da! Now, you could stick little sprinkles in there for eyes if you wanted to. If you wanted sprinkles on top of any of this rolled buttercream, all you have to do is use corn syrup and paint it on a little bit, and then any of your sprinkles will then stick. You could also use a little bit of painted royal icing on top of it after it's crusted. That'll help your sprinkles stick. You can actually take rolled buttercream and you can mix in sprinkles, or you can mix in dried dried powders, those dried fruit powders, which are really nice. All right, so let's move on. So now that we've done our rolled buttercream, let's look at some royal icing consistencies. So that is our rolled buttercream. Ta-da! I hope everybody's happy with a little bit of a demo on that. That's lots of fun here. Get that wrapped back up. Now we're gonna move on to our royal icing. Now, a lot of you guys are still having a lot of trouble with consistency, and I understand that. Consistency is a beast. Somebody is asking, what can I use instead of corn syrup? So there's a couple things. You can use I know that there's something called golden syrup. I don't know if that's a corn base or not, but it's golden syrup in Europe. I would assume it's not a corn base. That works as well. You could also try using just a little bit of royal icing or a glaze, or buttercream, additional buttercream, like a piping buttercream. All right, so royal icing. Now, I'm not going to show you guys how to make it because I do have a lot of videos that already show that part of it in detail. But you can see here, it's stiff. You want your royal icing base that you work from, your tub, to be that stiff. Now, it is made with meringue, and meringue, in order for it to have its strength, needs to be stiff. So, from this point, it has the structure that we can thin it down to different consistencies. Now, consistency-wise, I take straight from that bowl, and if I add a little bit of color, always add your color first to your royal icing before thinning it out, because a lot of these colors have moisture in them. Obviously, they're gel, but different amounts, so they could definitely slip you up and unfortunately push your icing over in the wrong direction before you want it to be too thin. So just add your color first and then go in and add your little bits of water as you need to. But you can see just adding straight color to this. Now, people talk about being so afraid of over mixing. Let me just tell you guys, over mixing royal icing has nothing to do with how many times you stir it. It doesn't. What it has to do with is how much air has been incorporated into that icing while you were stirring. So, my recommendation is to use a flat spatula. This one has a little bit of a tilt to it, which is nice for the corners. But use a spatula and not a spoon. So this way, I don't think I have ever gotten an over-mixed batch of icing once I switched to a spatula and not a spoon. I stopped incorporating air into that icing as I was mixing. Instead, you're literally just mixing and smoothing it around. So, this consistency here, stiff consistency, this is what you would make flowers with. And some really dimensional details. But this is definitely like if you're going to put together gingerbread houses, if you are going to make any kind of little candies or royal icing transfers, sometimes, you know, those flowers that you can make ahead of time, all with this stiff. Good stuff. So I can actually add this straight to a bag with a tip, and I can instantly make flowers with it, exactly how it is here. Or we can thin it down. Now, how do I know it's stiff enough for flowers? Let's say maybe yours looks a little softer than mine. So you want to know, is it still okay to use for flowers? What's going to happen? So here's how you check. You take that spatula, dip it in, pull it up. Dip it in there and pull it up. Now look at the edge of your icing. Now whatever that edge is doing right here is what your flower, petal, or ornament, or whatever you're working on, that's what it's gonna do. And you see here, that's not moving at all. I've got some of the sharpest points you could ever imagine on there. So that tells me when I go to make a flower, my petals aren't going to move. They're going to stay exactly how I pipe them. That's how you check your consistency. So now, let's say we want to go to, I mostly use 3 consistencies. I'll use stiff, toothpaste, and glob and ribbon waterfall. I know, a little weird, but I'll explain. So this is the stiff, and to get it to a toothpaste, which would be the next step down from this. Now, toothpaste consistency, for those of you who really like to do an outline and then a separate flood on the inside, usually you guys use a thicker outlining. So a toothpaste consistency, it's also perfect for writing. And toothpaste consistency is also really good for like eye details, some of those softer details. So let me show you how you take it from this. So basically we've just taken it from our bowl, we've colored it. Now we're gonna take and control how much water we add to that at a time. So I use my trusty spray bottle. I give a couple of spritzes, and then I am just gonna mix it around here, stirring it up. Now remember, if you're using a flat spatula, rubber spatula, you don't have to worry about how many times you're mixing it because you're not incorporating that air, you're just mixing. Now, what we're gonna be looking for this is a soft curl. Now, that is not a soft curl, that's still pretty much a stiff peak. So I need it to do almost like this little sweet dairy curl that kind of loops over. So let's give it 2 more spritzes. All right, let's see here. While I'm mixing this up, let me look at some of these questions here. Let's see. Oh yes, some people are talking about golden syrup. Yep, good stuff. All right, here we go. Now, this is what I consider toothpaste. Now when I lift up, I can curl over. It looks like soft serve ice cream. Now it doesn't like actually melt back into itself. See, you can still see the end of the curl, but it's slowly, like if I wanted to, I could make it melt back into itself, but if it's just laying there, it's not gonna do it. Ta-da! That is toothpaste consistency. Now this is what I write with. This is if you like to do a separate outline. I usually don't. To be honest, I am really lazy. I'm sorry. I am a member of the lazy club. If there's a cheat, if there's an easy way out of it, I'll take it. So, I'm about efficiency. And I like this next consistency down from this is what I use to flood my cookies. So I'll outline and flood the same consistency. And that is something most people call a glob and ribbon. I kind of bring it right to the state right before it gets to glob and ribbon. That's my sweet spot, but everybody's different and you'll find what works for you. But let's see, a couple more spritzes in there. Mix it around, see what we can come up with here. Now, once it is this flood consistency here, let's see, all right. Then at that point, this is perfect for like wet on wet designs, flooding, filling in. All right, now to check this one, we pick it up, and does it plop and stop, or does it continue to calm down in a sheet or ribbon? Look at that. It's continuing down. It doesn't just plop and stop, it continues to pull itself down. That's what we're looking for. Now that is called glob and ribbon. See that? Very nice. Now that will give you that puff on the edge. It will fill in really nicely. This tends not to, as long as you bring it just to that state, it doesn't crater. it doesn't cave in. Oh, all the problems we have with royal icing. That toothpaste consistency, by the way, is probably your number one consistency for doing transfers. All those cute little transfers you see when you put down a page protector, and those are usually done with a toothpaste consistency. And then of course, most of my flooding is done with this glob and ribbon or waterfall consistency here, like that. All right, so those were our demos. Now let's move on to some question and answer. We can do some Q&A, if you will. Let me get my computer here and let's take a look and see if there are any questions you guys have for me. I was just about to ask about the puff. Oh yes, puff. So puff comes from that structure that you build, that huge, thick structure. Now, once you add water to this structure doesn't break down once it's firm like this. It wants to stay like this, which gives you, no matter how watery it is, it still gives you that structure that creates a puff. It gives it almost a framework for that smoother icing to kind of lay down on. So that's where you get your puff from. But you can also keep your puff puffier and keep it from having too much time to settle out, faster drying. So using your dehydrator, you can use a dehydrator. I have a Kasori, really nice. I have a link in my store for it, but on Amazon. Wonderful, wonderful tool. Now what you do is the faster you dry that surface, the shinier it's going to be and the puffier it's going to stay. Good stuff. But I use my dehydrator for probably about 10 to 20 minutes on each cookie. Not a whole lot of time. At the very most 20 minutes. But I don't want to dry my cookie out, but I also want the benefits of the puff. So I'll keep it in there for about that much, no more than maybe 20 minutes. And then I'll remove it and use just a light fan. And I usually let them dry overnight. So let's see. Thick letters. Okay. So we have Charity is asking, with thick letters, do you only use toothpaste consistency and no outline still? Now with lettering, the toothpaste consistency is your outline and it helps fill in. But when you go to fill in, you'll have to use a scribe. But all of my lettering is done with a toothpaste consistency, for sure. Let's see here. Do I have any ideas on what that is for a second count? So here's the problem with that. Now, I created my own video because I don't know about you guys, but I couldn't get the whole counting thing. I know that sounds ridiculous. I was even a preschool teacher. You know, I know how to count. But here's the problem. Do you start when you lift the knife out? Do you start as you stirred? Like, I just couldn't tell. It was so subjective. Was that one? Was that two? Was that after the two? Was it? So I go by look. I look. I know how to feel. I know what it feels supposed to feel like. I know what it's supposed to look like. I know how it's supposed to be reacting to my spatula. I would much rather have you guys learn to read what's going on here than to rely on like a 1 potato, 2 potato, 3 potato, 4. I couldn't get the counting thing down. It bugged me. So I just learned to look at consistency better. I mean, I did French macaroons, thousands and thousands and thousands of French macaroons. I had a shop on Etsy for a few years, back in 2012. And I did so many macaroons, and those really are, you have to just watch that consistency, that ribbon consistency. There is no rhyme or reason. There is no magical number or count. You really just have to learn what you're seeing and learn how to read it. and learn how to manipulate it and make it do what you want it to do. Makes sense. Oh, do I dip? Oh, let me tell you. Some of you are very familiar with my dipping videos. I love dipping. So I do a lot of paint your own. And those paint your own cookies are so much easier when you just dip them. It gives them like this beautiful, beautiful sheen. Now, dipping, I'm gonna eat my words. Dipping is the only one that I do use a count for. I do count for that one, I have to say. That one's probably like I somewhere between a 3 to 5 count. If it disappears, you know, when you drizzle and stop drizzling, if it disappears within 3 to 5 seconds, you're good. That really is the only time I count. So, but that's a good point to bring up. Yes, the dip is great. Now, using a stiff base and thinning it all the way down for dip will give you that puffy dip. It keeps the structure. So I know it's tempting in the very beginning at your batch, if you know, oh, all I'm gonna be doing is dipping. It's tempting to add all of that water and save yourself time in the very beginning, but that's gonna ruin that structure. You have to have the structure first and then thin down from there, okay? So take it from me, don't ruin your icing. Start with the thick and then thin it down, even if you are dipping. So I do have some videos on dipping. So if you want to go back through my channel and flip through, I can also try to tag you in them later. But they're wonderful videos, and I show you easy little tricks to clean them up so that they're not so sloppy and messy. And my trick for sealing the edges and getting that little puff over the edge, even on dip. It's amazing. All right, let's see. Let me look into my computer here. Let's see. Oh, what's dipping? Valerie Evans. Hi, Valerie. So dipping is where you take your cookie and you have your royal icing. Imagine this has nothing on it, naked cookie, and you dip it and you shake off the icing, flip it over, and then let it dry. Let's see here. When you are letting your icing set for 24 hours, do you leave it open on a cooling rack or latex or parchment, or do they need to lay in a container with a lid? Lori, so what I do is just like royal icing cookies. You lay out your buttercream cookies and let them air dry just on a tray. So I actually have these little rechargeable fans. Ooh, let me show you guys. Sorry, I'm out of the frame for a brief second here. But I have 4 of these cute little rechargeable fans that I found on Etsy or on Amazon, and they're fantastic. So they have different settings. 3 different settings. I can reposition them. I can move them around. So I will actually take all 4 of these fans and I will place them around and let them run for the night. And eventually somewhere in the morning, in the early morning, they start to die, but that's fine because by then everything has set and we're good to go. I hope that answered. All right, let's see here. All right. What else do we have? What else do you guys need to know about? I'm just reading down here. All right. Now, as far as getting longevity out of these, I actually find buttercream cookies stay so much more moist and tender than royal icing. So that's also something to think about when you're doing cookies. I mean, yes, buttercream's a little harder to work with and it's kind of finicky and you don't get exactly those same sharp details as you do with royal, but they're really delicious. And they stay soft. I love royal icing cookies, don't get me wrong. Love me some royal icing cookies. But the ones with buttercream, oh, they're so good. Whether it is my crusting cookie buttercream, which I don't have any right now to show you, or if it's just this, rolled buttercream, this stuff is amazing. I mean, so I did recently do a video for you guys. Oh, we can end just about now, but I'll just add that we also have, I did a video where you can make candy out of rolled buttercream. I know I think somebody mentioned mints on here. Yes, you can make mints. I mean, back in the 80s, that's what they made pillow buttercream mints with, is something that looked like rolled buttercream. It's so good. No, seriously, you have to keep yourself from eating it. It's delicious. But this stuff takes additives and flavorings, sprinkles, all kinds of stuff really, really well. So you can add, lemon zest and lemon oil to it and make little lemon mints. You can, I took freeze-dried raspberry, ground it up, just kneaded it in with this, and then dipped them in chocolate. Oh my God, they were so good. Christmas candy. All right, guys. You guys are the most amazing group of people I have ever come across. I love our community. Thank you guys so much for making this community a loving, supportive community. I am on so many sites and I see so many snarky, ugly comments being thrown around when somebody's just asking for help. Please continue to be those wonderful people that just offer that olive branch and that help to everyone. Pay it forward. So many people have gone before us and taught us everything we know, so it's our duty to go and share it with others. And I hope you guys got something out of this live. The next time, it definitely helped having my laptop up and the computer didn't freeze up. So that was great. So we got lots of, yes, I know. Everybody's laughing about the latex comment in the thread. You can go back and read it. It's kind of funny. But thank you guys. The flavor doesn't really, somebody was asking, does the flavoring affect this? It really doesn't. This stuff is so forgiving. You can grind up Oreo cookie and put it in here. I've played around with using, I know we have talked about using peanut butter and like Biscoff and Nutella and stuff in these. I've played around, but unfortunately it dries it out really badly. So I'm still playing around with the recipe, but I haven't given up on it yet. If somebody comes across a mixture that they really like, share it with us. All right, guys. Like and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you want to continue seeing more stuff. Our VIP Cookie Tribe group on my YouTube channel has their own collection of videos and their own groups. So please go on there. I definitely want to give you guys more access to me. So any questions, comments, concerns, reach out. Definitely join our cookie group if you're not a member of the Cookie Tribe on Facebook. Join that, and also our VIP group on our YouTube channel. So thank you guys. Love you guys, and reach out with those questions. Thank you. Take care.